Yeah, sorry.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side. And
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, good afternoon, folks. It's good to be back with you guys on the Bee Connection. Definitely a lot of stuff going on in my area. Just talking to these boys about, man, the flow is on finally. Thank you, Lord. So do have some colonies that are strong enough to start pulling in some honey. I have one that's really strong, and in 2 days, they have already felt one super up. And Keith probably knows how that goes. That is a quick fill of a super. So, but this colony is extremely strong. So very, very excited with how it's working out. So, been spending a lot of time in the bee yard. My batch 2 that I had 48 cells to hatch out, or that it could hatch out. I give most of those away. I had 18 of those, and I had a 83% return rate, which I was extremely excited about. I did have one of those nukes to have 2 queens in it. And I'm like, how did I get 2 queens in that colony? Maybe she come back, flew in the wrong one. It was way too strong. So this thing's got to get split. Queen on the outside frame. And I was like, okay. And, I'll just go over here and start on this side, do the split from this side because she's over there. Pulled it out. There's a queen there. So that don't make much sense. But this is a rookie mistake, folks. The colony that was right next to it, I remember going in there, and I remember setting the queen out of that colony last week. And I noticed some bees marching in off that frame into the colony next to it. And I didn't really think much of it. And I didn't look at that frame when I put it back in. But I guarantee you that queen left that frame and went into the colony next to it. So long story short is, if you got your queen, especially the new virgin queens, don't take her out of the colony. Just leave her in there, okay? And you'll be so much better off. But I was in there looking for eggs to see if she was laying yet. So definitely a mistake on my part. Rookie mistake. We all make them, right? But did have 2 queens in there, and I did take her out and put her in the colony, back in her original colony. So that was all right. So I was happy with that. Did do another batch of queens, and that was the picture on the live stream here tonight. Didn't do very good on the bottom bar, but the top bar did fairly decent. And I'll be going on vacation next week. So if you notice, some of them will actually have what they call roll cages that will slide up on them, or hair cages that'll slide up on some of those cells. And they'll hatch out in the mating colony. And then a friend of mine is going to come over, and the ones that are just capped will go into 5 other colonies. So got 11 of those to maybe make it. We'll see. So just a constant go on the grafting. I'm getting better and better with it. I did supposed to have a breeder queen coming, and could not get anybody. Couldn't get the guy that I had asked a year and a half ago to get me a breeder queen. So I have talked to Tom about that, and he's got me a number, and hopefully I can get me a breeder queen, because that's what all this beginning grafting was about, to get better at. So when I got my breeder queen, I'd be ready to go. So lots of stuff going on here on the farm. So anyway, let's see what's going off the mountain. We'll talk to Keith about that.
Well, appreciate you having me on again.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm enjoying hearing that you're busy now. And we're on the downside of the flow down here, the main flow. We've
Yep.
still got some stuff coming in. There's some kind of I don't know the proper name for it, some kind of a chestnut that's blooming right now down here. The persimmon I don't think has bloomed yet, or the mimosa, but the ladies are going after something pretty good, but nothing like they were back on the tulip poplar. But yeah, I've put a couple of shorts out. I'm starting to have trouble with robbing, so I pulled honey, I guess last weekend, extracted it Sunday or Monday, I don't remember. And when I went to put the wet supers back on, I had a little bit of a mess on a couple of hives. I had to, I didn't have to put the robin screens on or anything. I got a smoker out and I burned their nose hairs a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's something us flatlanders are going to have to start being aware of.
Yep.
Robin season, I guess that's my least favorite season that we go through. It's so unpredictable, and you have to, you really can't enjoy doing anything. You just have to get in and out as quick as you can, do everything as fast as you can. Definitely, I always talk about don't be a tourist. Always have a plan. Well, that's even more important this time of the year. I talked to one of the folks that I'm helping earlier today, and he wants to go in and pull some more honey towards the end of next week, and he's got his mindset on doing an inspection, because I've been keeping him on the same schedule as I'm on, and I haven't done any inspections since probably mid-March. But he wants to go into them and see what's going on. And man, I'm not sure. You start we pull the supers and then go into them and do a little inspection. It might be a short day. We might get into one hive and they blow up, and we just have to say that's it for today. I'm going to the house. We'll try again tomorrow, maybe. So that's kind of what's going on here. I'm looking towards night treatments late July, early August, but really just not a whole lot going on right now. They'll still bringing in a little bit, but not like it was.
So Keith, if you don't mind, can you tell everybody how much honey you've collected so far, and let people know how many colonies you have? Because you don't have that many colonies, really. Can you give us that number?
Well, the total number of colonies I have right now, I think, is 37. As far as my production hives, I've got 17. 17 are my big honey makers. The other hives are my swarms and splits and newts and all the bees that I play with. The hives that are for sale and that sort of thing. But off of the 17 production hives, I'm right at 1,900 pounds right now.
Golly. Wow.
It's been a killer year. No complaints down here in the flatlands. Last year I made 1,500, so I've already gone over what I made last year, and there'll be at least one more pull. So it looks like, man, we're going to go over a ton of honey, which is just crazy.
That's crazy. My gosh.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had that little hand crank 4-frame extractor, and I made 50 pounds and thought that was just the greatest thing ever, even though both my arms were about to fall off from cranking it. But yeah, man, the seasons have been great. The weather's been great. I got no complaints. It's been a great year. Yeah, I feel like Popeye. I needed my pipe and a can of spinach, and you crank it one way with one arm and crank it the other way, and then switch arms, and then you get out of balance, and you'd be hugging it and cranking it, and man, 50 gallons was a lot for that thing. So I sold it to my neighbor across the street, so he's cranking now.
Hey, What Keith just said, a short story long, was I'm not going to fight him and I'm not going to arm wrestle him. Those are two things I know.
Oh man.
Yeah, pushing the button is a whole lot easier than cranking. No doubt.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
What's going on in your area, Tom?
A lot of rain. Todd made a comment here just a few minutes ago. He said, let's see. Hey, Tom, just got in from adding supers. It's amazing how much they have packed in since Saturday. We had a couple of dry days, and I'm foggy to know which days it was. I think it was Monday and Tuesday. I had dry days. We have a dry day on Sunday? I don't remember. There was 2 days I remember specifically. It was a little bit warmer. I think it might have been Monday and Tuesday. And it's interesting because when you go into a bee yard and you have more than, well, even one colony, you could tell this. When you get out of the truck, and I think we talked about this before, and you don't even have to get close. I can tell you if they're bringing nectar in because there's a hum about the yard, and you'll catch whiffs of nectar in there. From them drying it down. It just there's a busy hum about the yard, and it's the most beautiful sound you'll hear.
Yep.
And
it almost sounds like it's swarming. Almost, it's like, what's going on? It's like a real loud buzz. That's just like, is there a swarm somewhere? What's going on? And it's just the bees going to the colony. It's just crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great sound, and the smell, like you say, it's hard to explain to people. I had some funny looks at the market Saturday. Michelle, my wife, she rolled some beeswax candles out of sheets of beeswax like you normally put in a frame. She heats it up and rolls candles, but I keep them in Ziploc bags to keep the smell in, and then unzip them and let people smell of them. And I told them it smelled like a beehive. They looked at me like I was like, what? But those candles, they smell like a beehive. They're just missing a little bit of nectar. But,
That's funny you mentioned the rolled candles. Melissa and I were just on the phone with Dadant today. They're going to be one of the vendors at the Missouri State Beekeepers Association meeting here in 2 weeks. I don't know, 2 weekends, 1 weekend. Anyway, not this weekend, but next, right? I don't know. Anyway, but nonetheless,
the 21st.
I was placing an order with them because they're going to be there. So I needed to order some specialty items that I figured they probably wouldn't have with them. So I called up the rep that I know and said, hey, I was looking for some W clips, first of all, and I need a new billow from my smoker. Don't ask me why. I need a new one on a newer smoker. One of my partner over here burnt a hole in it. Anyway, not throwing her under the bus, but I'm throwing her under the bus. And then Melissa wanted some more thin surplus for rolled candles. And she likes to do that with some of the school-age kids, kind of much like what you've done in the past, I think, Keith. And kind of a little activity she can do with them. So they hooked us up, and they're going to get us some stuff. So anyway, so that thin surplus, I've never tried it, but Melissa has it. Apparently it makes a very nice rolled candle.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the folks really like it. We've tried some in the past, but the wax didn't have a lot of smell to it. And that's the first thing people would do was they pick the candle up and sniff it. Mm-hmm. But from what I've been told, I forgot to even tell Michelle that one of the guys that purchased candles yesterday, he said they lasted a long time.
Yeah.
So he was
interestingly enough that it does. Beeswax burns longer. It has a brighter flame. It purifies the air. These are all three facts that I was a little skeptical when I first heard them. So then I have to get on Google and start pulling up articles and ads to see if that's really legit, right? JW would say I was Googling them, but anyway, needed to figure out if this was actually true. But it's actually a nice little selling point if you're a person that sells candles at any markets. You can tell them, hey, it's a little bit more expensive, but if it burns longer, it purifies the air. Is it not a better product?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, just my thought there. That's marketing. What's up, Matt?
Go ahead, Matt. What's going on with you, brother?
Pretty much the same thing. A lot of rain here the last couple of days. Like Tom was mentioning last week, they were definitely flying with some intent. So there was a good 3 or 4 days of making honey, and I wish we'd have that come this next week. Because there's plenty of bee power. So we're just waiting for the temperatures to get over the 80s, and really start flowing that. Really right now what we have is clover, and our sumac is getting ready. That's going to be our next big flow, I feel like. And then aside from that, that's pretty much, do you think, Tom, that's about the last major source we have around here other than the clovers?
Pretty much.
Sumac.
We can get sumac. If you have sumac trees around you, that can produce a nice little nectar on it.
Yeah, we have a bunch, but that's about it. Just splitting our splits. I went through and checked our nukes, that we'll be sending down, and they're all getting stronger, so that date being pushed back a little bit is helpful. So
yeah,
awesome.
a little time can help a little nuke that's growing big time. You know, I mean, it's just they can make a lot of headway quick. So
They definitely can.
was pleased to see that. Yeah, just keeping an eye on supers. No one's overfilling yet, but I'm ready for when they do. You know, so. But you know, hey, if this year's not going to be a honey year, it's going to be a bee making year. You know, so I know what that's all about, and I'll do it again if I have to. But a little bit of honey wouldn't be bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan, we're going to try to meet up on the 21st. Yes, sir. That is correct. So I have a question for you guys. See what you think. I'm going to start. I have bought a trailer. I am going to try to chase sourwood and then take my bees off the mountain for the winter, at least some of the bigger colonies that I've got, to start off the flow early. Down there where Keith is and gets all the honey. I may just park it right there in his area. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go.
But, yeah. So if I'm going to build some box or build some hives, what am I looking for this colony? I know I want a good queen, right? But I want to max this thing out. And I'm thinking like 10 frames of straight brood. Do I want just emerging brood, or do I want a little bit of everything? What do you guys think?
So go back and say that again. What do you? I didn't completely follow. Maybe it's just
Okay,
me.
so here's what I'm going to do. I've got nukes right now that are just 5-frame nukes. Right, I'm going to start taking frames out of those nukes and build these massive 10-frame, about to blow up colonies with bees. Right. My biggest thing is I've got to get my timing right. Correct. I want these bees to be at the right age to be going out and catching this nectar flow at this massive amount of time. So what age bee am I looking for to make that massive colony to get it ready to go?
I gotcha. I think that's after. Keith might know this better than myself. I think you're looking for a bee older than 21 days.
That what
Do
you guys
you
think?
know that for fact, Keith? For forage?
Yeah, I think you're about right. I mean, you're going to want your field force to be maximum when they hit the sourwood.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you don't want to take a bunch of uncapped brood to the mountains.
No,
Exactly.
They'll hatch about the time you come home. But you don't want that.
If I take brood, it's about to emerge, right? Mm-hmm. And I take it down 2 weeks early, and that would help them kind of orient to the area that they're at, right? Not include the bees that are already in the box, and have all that brood, come out at the same exact time to catch this honey flow. I'm thinking 10 frames is that strong enough? Do I need to go, 10 or 20 frame boxes to get the maximum amount?
Well, if you look at it like this, if you have pretty solid sheets of brood on a frame, both sides, that turns into roughly 2 frames to 2.5 frames of bees that are walking on comb. So that gives you an idea, like a visual idea when you open a colony and look at it. So, I mean, ideally, if all those hatched at about the same time or ish, I mean, that would give you about 2 full boxes of bees plus whatever was already in there. So I would say, yeah, you're riding a pretty good line of, hey, we're going to build swarm cells and we're going to put honey away. If that nectar's flowing where you're going to be at and that thing peaks, then I think you'll probably be in good shape.
Okay.
I think so. I agree.
Melissa said she's going to send you a picture that you can share.
Okay, awesome.
I think one key, Ricky, is for you to have drawn comb for those bees to put that nectar away. That sourwood comes in. If I don't know anything about that flow, but I'm assuming it's just like anything else, it's going to be quick and could be temperamental, depending on weather. So,
Matt, I think the reason why, like I'll give you, for example, JW had the swarming that he had, and I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've seen a little bit of it. I think the main reason is, like for us particular, normally we get this honey flow that all of a sudden just comes out of the woodwork and just bam, I mean, it hits hot, hard, and heavy. And then the bees, that mindset is we're just stocking it away, and they're bumping into one another, and it's not a problem. But the minute that thing starts to shut down, it's kind of like idle hands or the devil's playground. When you kind of go idle and you start thinking about things, I think that's what happens with the bees when they kind of settle down for a minute and they don't have as much to do. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, we're crowded in here. I don't like this. We need to build some swarm cells because we need to reproduce, right? And I think in my mind, that's how I kind of visualize it. And I may be kind of off base there a little bit too, but and then so if you started with the nectar flow and this population peaks and you're just doing really good, but then the nectar flow just shuts down because 3 or 4 days of rain, cool temperatures, nectar flow on that plant there's a lull from one to the other, whatever that might be. I think that's when those bees actually then say, hey, we want to swarm. So if you can get into a nectar flow and stay into it for a period, I think the impulse kind of just goes away, for a while. But, we've had so much, it's been like this. Riding a roller coaster with nectar flows. A couple of days and be coming in hot and heavy. 3 or 4 days, nothing because of rain and cool temperatures. So it's too hard to gauge. It's like a management nightmare, really.
Yep. So you've got drone comb to put on those hives that you're taking to the mountains or to the other mountains.
The other part of the mountains, yes.
Yeah, you're already in the mountains.
Like I said, I've probably, I've got probably 25 nukes right now that's got new queens or swarms or whatever. And I can take resources out of each one of those and build me probably at least 5 or 6 really strong boxes to take off the mountain and catch the sourwood flow. So I feel like I have enough drawn cone to do that with. I will say this, and you guys can chime in. I think we've talked about this before, but you catch a swarm, you feed that thing, and feed them foundation at the same time. They will draw out some foundation. I have this year with all these swarms that people have been donating or giving to me to help me build my bee yard back up. I've been feeding in those swarms, and they will draw foundation. Like for the first 2 to 3 weeks, they will just, as much as you give them, they will draw. So, yes, I have enough. Yeah, I have enough draw foundation. But if you ever catch a swarm, give them foundation that's not even been worked, and let them work it because they want to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they can do some amazing things in a short amount of time. It's crazy what they can do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Motivation makes a lot of things happen,
Yeah. Yeah, they're homeless, got no food, got nothing. They got to build everything quick.
Yep.
That's right.
I think with beekeeping, we're all like, after we understand enough about the biology of the bee and what they want to do at what time and what's even possible to do at what time of year, I think it comes down to us becoming almost like a master manipulator of whatever the outcome is we want to do. Whether it be a bunch of smaller nukes to build up for next year's, or like what you're saying, Ricky, like put together a bunch to make a bigger production hive, for a temporary flow.
Yep.
There's so many different ways to once you really get down to the the biology of the bee and their life cycles, I guess. I think that to me is what it seems to be. Kind of like understanding how to manipulate them when and however the best animal husbandry calls for at that time for your goals.
Yep.
Yeah, you're definitely right about trying to get your timing right. That's one of the things I try so hard to do is get these really big hives full of lots of bees. We all know that one great big hive will make a lot more honey than two smaller hives. So if you can get a bunch of bees in the right place and keep them from swarming, and you got a good flow going, you can make a lot of honey. It's amazing.
And Tom, you was talking about swarming, and and again going back to building that wax. To me, that population has to have a certain amount of these bees that are going to be able to go out and build this new colony, right? They have to be that right age to be there. It's amazing to me that they start those queen cells knowing that at this certain point they will be there. They will have that amount of bees that they need to go out with, right?
Yeah.
They're so amazing when you start thinking about that.
That's that middle-aged bee you're looking for. That's a wax builder. They're like late stage. a late stage, what's the word I'm looking for? House bee, I guess. And I think that somebody Google me. I think it's 12. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say 12 to 20, but that's 12 to 17.
Yep.
Construction and distribution. Yeah. So
Yep.
they'll actually turn
That's-
into more advanced house bees.
Yep.
Building comb and also transferring pollen, nectar, things like that, I guess.
Yep. That's what Melissa just sent me. Yep.
Oh, okay.
You're right on the target. Yep. She's a good wife. She knows her stuff, Tom.
I know, right? She's the one that feeds me all the cool information. I know about this much. She feeds me all the information. Just makes me look smart.
She finally admitted it, guys.
Oh, dang it! Oh wait, I thought we're live. I didn't realize we were live. I thought we were
We're
just chatting
live.
amongst
No,
ourselves. Hey, can we go back? How do we back this thing up?
Nope.
Somebody,
Live action.
live action, buddy.
But yeah, that is amazing. It's almost like there's another job description of a bee in there. The planner scheduler, that's is running around with his little clipboard or her clipboard or her laptop, making sure everything is going as planned. Because, like you say, they plan ahead. They amazing little critters.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they know what the weather's going to be coming up. Like if there's a system coming in, it's almost like the day ahead of time they are acting. Either they're getting extra on it, just while they can, or I don't know, something about it. I don't know. I feel like they have some way to forecast potential weather coming in, but maybe not.
Because they all swarm at the same time. We've had calls all this week. It has been unreal of the swarms. I posted. Maybe I didn't post it on my Facebook page, my wife's Facebook page, but I had one that the lady called me and she said they wouldn't go in the box. She said, I caught the queen. I put her in there and they won't go in the box. I'm like, that's unusual. So I go over and look and she's got a beautiful queen in the box. There's a big colony above and there's just this little bitty bump below. And I thought, well, that's really strange. So I'm watching this little bitty bump and the bees are just erratic, just like something's not right. And the big cluster's just sitting still. Right. So I'm like, so I go to look at it and there's a virgin running up to the top. Nope, can't go there. Running up. Nope, there's a queen there. And she was going back and forth. And I clipped her and I slid the other box out. I put another nuke under. I shook that one out. It went into the box. There was definitely a queen in that box. It was not coming out. And I set that virgin on top of that colony and not one bee come up to be with her. She was all by herself. But there was at least 3 queens in that box.
Wow.
So, yeah, but the swarms are really going. And the lady finally told me, oh, yeah, well, there was one swarm over here and one swarm over there. And then they met over here on this other tree together. And that was very interesting that these 2 swarms had come together to make one big swarm. So, yeah, very different.
I've only had that happen one time and I lost them. I didn't have any equipment and they were in the top of a pine tree and it was a huge swarm. And I saw the 2 swarms they came out of my hives. This would have been 3 years ago and merged up in a pine tree. And I'm in the shop putting a box together and I heard them take off. And then I just waved at them as they flew off over the tree. But that was a big one, but I lost that one. But the swarms have pretty much dried up down here. I'm probably going to pull my swarm boxes down next week. A, I don't need any more bees, and B, there's no scouts. There's nothing. There's zero going on right now. So I'll probably go ahead and get my boxes down.
Well, I will tell you in your area down there that we're getting all kinds of calls to come and do cutouts. So you're right. The swarms have gone in people's houses and have built up quite nicely down there. So.
Yeah, I just go for the ones that are dangling in the trees and the bushes and fence posts and the easy ones.
Yes.
You don't want me cutting holes in your house. I can build a half track, but I'm not a carpenter. So yeah, man's got to know his limitations.
Hey,
yes.
all you need to go and extract a colony out of a structure is a chainsaw. That's all you need.
Yeah. And have somebody else put it back together for you.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut through the floor joist and everything.
Yeah. I tell you what, there is a fella below us here that just absolutely loves swarms. He probably would like to do some cutouts. Yeah, right there. It's this fella right there. What's going on, JW?
I must be the only guy in the county that has to work.
That's
This guy was
funny.
retarded like you all are.
Uh-oh. Matt, look out. Here it comes, Matt. We're getting ready to get our butts chewed.
I know it.
Yep.
I tell you, I'm having varmint problems. I've been out, got something killing all my cats, killing them and eating
Oh no, the little
Fox.
babies, going into the buildings and getting them and eating them.
Think it's a fox?
I thought I had the buildings where the baby cats was varmint proof, but
Yep.
I don't know whether something got in there. Not well. They've killed eight. These kittens just get big enough. They got the mama last week. Something got the mama, and it was she had 6 babies, and had another mama that had 4 babies, and she's disappeared today. And the one with the 4 babies, the babies I think are gone, and 4 of the 6 babies are gone.
Yeah.
So and I've had them taken before, but they usually, when the bobcats get them or an owl gets them, they just disappear. But something's actually eating those, and they're I guess they're not afraid enough that they're eating them right on the premises. I found the baby's bones and skeletons where they'd eat on them. So I know I've got a coyote pretty close back behind me there. That's you heard her. Matt was out here. She's got babies, so it may be her. But I did. If they're getting them out of the big barn, Matt and Tom knows where it is. I got it among one of my old show barns for my bulls and stuff. And the cats stay in there, and something got in there. And first time I've ever had them, they disappeared. First time I ever had them kill them and eat them. So I assume it's some animal with babies, but I thought I had the doors closed up tight enough that nothing could get in there, but I guess I was wrong. So, Clay, I don't need any cats, buddy. I've got, with the babies that hatched out, I was up 32. So, I think I'm pretty low.
Hatched out.
Well, there's some words I heard from a wise man not too long ago that says when you overpopulate an area with the species, Mother Nature tends to equalize and thin the herd.
I don't miss them. I'm just curious as to what it is. If anyone's got any suggestions.
My thinking, if it's an owl, you'd never know. That owl's going to fly off of that,
Yeah, if it's an owl, or bobcat will too. They won't need them there.
No.
So it's got to be, I don't know what it is. But anyway, I've got 2 left, and I moved them 4 times today to a different place to try to save them. They go right back to the same place. So Mother Nature just going to have to take its course. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. I know it, Clay. I know it. You're exactly right. But I thought I had this building closed up enough, and I think Matt's seen it. I didn't think a coyote could get in it, but apparently they did.
Seemed pretty tight.
Yeah.
I should have brought one of those kittens home for Kennedy when you asked.
Yeah. They'd have still been alive if you'd have took some of them. It's all your fault.
I know. It's because I got in the colonies on April 1st. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so much for my cat stories. So y'all go ahead and go back to your swarm stories or
Well, tell us about your bees, JW. What's going on in your bee yard? Tell us, you got some flow going, or they just buzzing?
Well, we got 2 and 4,500 of rain last night, just like the rain that those guys got come on across to me. And we had a real strong flow going. I don't know that rain came when you get 2.5 inches in about 8 or 9 hours. There's going to be some damage to your pollen sources and your nectar sources. So blackberries in full bloom, catalpa was in full bloom, and there's most of the catalpa, petals are on the ground, the blossoms on the ground, and the blackberry, I'm gonna say probably forced all the nectar out of the blackberries as hard as that rain came. It really came hard. So it'll be interesting to see. I've got a lot of persimmons coming on. I've got a lot of sumac. So maybe they'll make some. And I've got white clover. I mean, rarely got acres of Dutch white clover. So, and the bees were working it pretty good today, believe it or not. So
It's awesome, JW. Hopefully your flow continues on, and you don't have to, you don't end up with Robin like Keith's dealing with right now. So,
well, if they go to robbing me, I'll take a shotgun and shoot them. I don't mess around with robbers. I hate them.
Well, Keith, I have a question for you, sir. I set an 8-frame box up today. I do have some 8-frame equipment, and I had a deep, and that one swarm that I told you was in that bottom box, and had the little one where the virgin was there, and there's another one on top. That bottom one was really big, so I felt like I was going to try some 8-frame equipment. I have a little bit here, and I put them in a deep box. They have drawn all that out already, and that's been 3 days. And so today I'm freaking out, because I'm like, they're drawing this out too fast. So I put a shallow on top of that one, and 8-frame box. Now with the shallow boxes, am I okay with one deep and one shallow, or should I put one more shallow on there, or am I good to go ahead and put my queen excluder and start, setting them up for honey flow?
Well, I would think. I mean, some people run single brood management. I would think you would be okay. Tom, they're running 8-frames stuff. He could tell you probably better than I could on 8-frame. I know I've just got one 8-frame hive, and they always make a lot of honey. They do good. So, but I would think that one deep with queen excluder and put your shallows on top, you should be okay this time of year. If they've already drawn it out, as long as they hadn't plugged it out, as long as the queen's still got some room there in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's all brand new foundation. Every frame is brand new, completely drawed out. And I got the shallow, and I'm thinking, do I put my queen excluder on top of that one, or can I do like single brood management and just put the queen excluder there, or do I need to put 2 shallows on above that 8-frame or the 10-frame box? Right.
Yeah, what do y'all do, Tom?
Do you talk about mediums, or you talk about actual shallows?
There's actually shallows. So it's a deep box with one shallow on top, and I'm debating on whether to put another shallow on top to give her enough brood area, or is one shallow enough? What do you think, Tom?
Well, that's a good question. The problem is I can't answer that with experience.
Well, I thought you had some 8-frame like.
I do, but I don't manage. I have managed in the single, and I do have some of them managed in singles, but by and large, my experience is with double 8s. And I've done it that way on purpose because, one, I don't care about maximum honey production. If I did, I would change that.
Okay.
And 2, it allows me a little bit of time. If I can't get back to a yard for hold on one second. Hey, close the door. It allows me a little bit of time as far as management. If I can't get back to a yard for 3 weeks or something, and if you have nectar coming in fairly hot and heavy, 3 weeks is a lot of time.
Yep.
Most of the time I can get back to it before then. If I know there's a lot coming in, I usually rush around and start throwing boxes on everything. Obviously worst thing you can do is not give them enough room. So, I mean, I have done that, as long as the one thing I think is really important, and we've all mentioned this many times, but I think this is a point that needs to be driven home is, you mentioned earlier, if you have a swarm that's drawing comb and you don't care about the honey production from it, let them draw comb. I mean, just
Okay.
I mean, mediums, shallows, deeps. I don't care what it is. Let them draw it because they are a motivated colony of the right age bee. They're stimulated. They're motivated. They want to draw comb. Let them draw comb. So the point I'm making here is, if you have drawn comb, often that can help the situation. So I don't think that bees view a foundation with a heavy wax on it as usable space. So if you've run out of drawn comb and you put a box on, until they start to occupy it and draw the comb, I don't think that they view that as usable space. So potentially, I still think that a colony would want to try to build swarm cells and swarm, even if you had an extra box and had them room, because I think it takes a short period of time for them to recognize that, motivate, and get the right age bees up there to start building that comb. And at that point in time, I think it becomes a little bit easier. But yeah, I would say it depends if you have drawn comb in that or not. I've never the only shallows that I have are cut comb boxes, and the last year was the first year I've ever used shallows, and it's the only reason I used that was for specifically cut comb. And I haven't put any of those on yet. If we can have more than 2 days of dry weather, I'm going to sneak some of those frames, some of those boxes right in the middle of some of those supers right there on some strong colonies. But we haven't had more than a few days before you get cool temperatures or rain, and I don't think that's enough time to really motivate them to build comb and put nectar away. So I haven't even bothered to put them on. And again, I don't do a lot of management in singles. I have done it before, and they will build crop, but I just don't do enough of it to really feel like I can talk with an educated background on that.
So I do need for context, I bought about 40 shallow supers off of a guy with frames, boxes. They were nasty. Now, don't get me wrong, they were very, very nasty. But I got each box for 75 cents with the frames in it. I mean, I really couldn't pass the deal up. It took me almost all winter to clean these up, right? So I could just use that 8-frame box as just to draw a foundation, right? Just use that one colony to draw a foundation. Mm-hmm. That would be really cool. And that would get all my supers probably by the end of the year, might actually get them to draw all that out and do something maybe like Keith is and put some sugar water on during the times that it's like a dearth right now, and maybe they'll continue to draw comb on those things. That might be the way to go. So that's a good idea. I might try that.
I've actually utilized some colonies like that, just like, I don't really care if they produce. They seem like they were doing a really good job of drawing wax, and I'll pull off a deep box and just throw. I have a handful of colonies out there now with 3 deep boxes on them, and then one colony I have has four medium supers and 3 deep boxes on it, and they seem to be running like gangbusters. So I'm just letting them do their thing, I don't get every colony like that, because I would say average for us. Again, I'm not managing for honey production. I can build an easy 2 supers of honey, 3, sometimes 4, not usually 5. That's kind of a stretch for me. Matt, you kind of noticed the same thing on yours as far as how much honey yours will build?
Yeah, it just I don't do much of anything on singles, to tell you the truth. I'm 10 frame, and I'm usually double deeps on everything. It's going to be producing honey. It's in the double deep 10 already. Mm-hmm. I've tried a little bit of queen excluder with a strong single, pull up a frame of brood, shake them off, pull up an open frame, let them come back through, and they just don't really. I mean, I don't know. Our bees put up a honey dome, and they pack everything upstairs, so I just stack on top. So I would put a deep and then a medium, and feel like that would be a good enough brood box. But just a single 10 myself, I'd probably go. A little bit.
Dog bit him. I seen it. The dog bit him.
Earthquake.
Bo's nose, boy. I got a Doberman that's got a nose about a mile long. But yeah, I would a deep and a medium. I think is a suitable brood nest size for myself. But
okay,
just, for whatever reason, through that excluder, they just, at least my experience, and it's minimal. I'll be the first to say that. I just don't get a lot of honey pushed up through that excluder, so I don't use them myself.
Yeah. What about you, JW? Do you use a queen excluder? Because I do like the Singer brood management. It has worked really good for me, especially like on the sourwood.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm a queen excluder guy. But I've experimented quite a bit with what you're saying, Rick, and what you're asking. I'm going to suggest to you that if you're running 8-frame stuff, that you want a minimum of a deep and a medium. That's a minimum. And better yet, just like Tom says, a double deep for a brood chamber, and then if you're trying to make honey, and then go to work from there.
Okay.
And that's been my experience over a year or two. So that's all Matt says no excluder. I tried it a couple of years, but excuse me, I'm having trouble talking. Went back to excluders, 2 years ago, and I'll never go back to no excluders again. You just get too much junk in your colony production or in your honey production is what I've found.
So when you say junk, JW, you're talking like maybe drone brood gets kind of in that area. You get some pollen in your honey that way. I mean,
yeah, you name it, you're going to get it, and you'll even get a little more, wonky type stuff in your frames too. That's been my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just don't like to see brood in my honey supers. Some people are like, well, they'll lay up there and they'll hatch out and backfill it. I agree with that 100%. They will. Last year I had a virgin that must have snuck up above a queen excluder, and then she started laying and got a little thick on the rear end. She couldn't get back down. So she laid up that whole upper super when I was pulling on July. And I'm like, well, so what I did is when I open it up and I just pull a frame out, I just do a quick check, throw it back in there, and I pull the box up and I blow them out with a blower. When I realized that, I took the box off and I'm like, so I have to find the queen now. I know she's up here. Found her, caged her, set her in the shade, pulled that box off, went down in my double deep to see if there was another one that was down there, which is possible. You could have two, one above, one below, maybe a mother-daughter. Went downstairs and my upper brood box, they were kind of starting to store nectar. So what I did is I knew then there was no queen down there. I took her and I put her back downstairs and said, go back downstairs. That's your home. That's your nest. And then put everything back together and let it go. And all that ended up hatching out, and then they filled it. But then I have to worry about, potentially those leftover proteins that are in there from the cocoons. And then you have that hive beetle and or wax moths that want to feed on that now. So now I have to guard that comb a lot more strictly than otherwise, that I would not have to do that if there was just white comb. It's not as big of a deal. They don't usually mess with it when it's just white comb. So you can look at it that way. The one thing I have done this year, though, that I haven't done much in the past is if I had comb, I had my double deep box, the queen excluder, and I threw a box on. When they started filling that up, and it seemed like when our nectar flows started shutting down and doing this weird roller coaster, they weren't putting it up there as much, and they were filling it in that second brood box and then jamming it up, and it was ticking me off. So I'd take the colony apart, take the queen excluder, throw it, slap that back down, and be like, all right, this is the honey super. Stay out of the mess. Because you're down there building swarm cells, and I'm getting agitated by it. They're not reading the same books, Keith. I don't know why they don't read the books. I'm throwing books on top of the hives and be like, girls, read this. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a talk and we'll get this squared away. They don't listen. So, it's useless.
They definitely don't read the books.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
I did start pulling once they filled up one of my supers with honey. I was taking those supers up, taking the excluders off, throwing them back down and putting the box back down, and knock on wood, I have not had a queen go above that in any of our supers to lay. Now, I haven't done that with everyone, but the ones I feel like they were stalling a little bit on, I pulled them out. So I still have some of them there with excluders on it. And it's kind of a trial error thing for me to see what works and how it works and if there's a difference,
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Mark. That's right.
Yeah, my story is kind of like JW. I used to be a an anti queen excluder kind of guy, but I really didn't have any reason to be that way other than I just didn't use them. But last year, the ladies started putting a lot of brood up in my supers and messing up some really nice supers. And, like you said, pollen brood, drone brood, everything. So I started running excluders last year, and I'm like JW. I'll never not use them again. I had to buy some more at Nobby this year. Hilco ran a real good deal on excluders, and I bought a bunch. So I've got them on all my production hives, and I've made a lot of honey, so I can't say that they've hurt anything. So I'm sold on them, and I don't have to worry about you get down to extract the honey and you missed it when you pulled it off, and you got a frame of brood, that you're stuck with then, and they've been out of the hive long enough. It's dead. There's nothing you can do with it. So yeah. Haven't had that this year.
Matt and I found a newer method of using that same tool. So we get two uses out of it, except for one rather than one. Matt and I would take, when we were managing our colonies back in beginning of April, we'd left down below in the nest with the queen 4 frames of brood down there, moved everything else up top, left them a little bit of honey down there too. Put a queen excluder down, moved everything else up top, and then when we came back around to do our splits, we aged out any young eggs and or young larvae down there, and then we would pull our splits then and set them up above the double screen board. Then we did a 3-frame splits, so nice heavy splits, and we could introduce our queen in there. And when you do that, they won't build any cells in there, and they'll accept the queen much more readily because they don't have any options. So it's less likely they're going to release the queen and kill her if they've already started to build cells. And so we utilized that, kept that queen down low, and that's what we used our queen excluder for. So we have to utilize that twice. And honestly, I'm going to be building more double screen boards for this next season, and that's how I'm going to make all my splits again.
Yeah, it was definitely noticeable. The colonies and splits that were raised when the temperatures were still getting down into the 40s at night over a double screen board, they were at least a week ahead of any of the earlier splits that were just in a nuke box by itself on a stand. I mean, almost a solid frame of brood stronger. Same queen, same split, same amount of jar feed, everything being equal. The double screen board is a very versatile beekeeping tool for sure, as I'm sure a queen excluder is. And as soon as I get burnt with a bunch of brood in my honey, I'm going to switch too. I can tell you that.
I'm not saying you will. I've just said that's what
I know
happened
it.
to me.
Believe me, that's how you learn right there, is get burnt, and then if you make the same mistake twice, it's shame on you. But so far, really the only time I worry about brood in my super is if I leave a medium on over winter on a double. So, and then, come late winter, early spring, I will have some brood up there at that point. But that medium is basically dedicated on that colony at that point. So it's not a honey super that I'm just doing for honey. That's actually a double deep and a medium set hive that it always stays that way at that point.
Yep.
I'm hoping Matt will tell me that about the queen excluder thing, not using it, that it really messed him up. So then I really just want to point my finger in his chest and be like, Matt, I told you so. You didn't listen to me. And look what happened. Worry.
I got plenty of those, I'm sure, that are coming,
No, I got a lot of respect for you guys that don't use the queen excluders. I feel like I'm just the guy that's playing it super safe and, not really stepping out there is what it boils down to. So I'm playing that safe card is what I'm doing with that queen excluder. And, I don't know. I mean, I heard people say back and forth, and, I can't tell you from experience if the colonies build more honey without a queen excluder. I mean, I don't know. It makes sense to me that they might. But, here's the thing, though. I think about it like this, and I'm like, okay, if you have 2 colonies next to each other, the exact same motivation, same number of bees, they obviously have the same access to the same nectar sources there within the proximity of their hives. One of them has a queen excluder, the other one doesn't. One of them, that one without, might build a little bit more honey than the other one. But here's the thing. How many different things affect that nectar flow? I mean, short of a million, right? I mean, everything from temperature, the type of bloom, rain or no rain, the nutrients in the soil, if they're going to produce, I mean, a lot of stuff is all there. So
See what happens, Matthew, when you get to be a superstar and go to giving advice. You got guys that's he's got your number. Roy does. See.
Yeah, Roy knows Tony. Yeah.
Yep.
See, Matt, you didn't know he was coming on.
I think he's on his phone, Roy. I don't know. Can you see the comments?
I
Matt?
can if I squint. April Fool beekeepers give.
Roy's got your number. He knows you've been in there on April Fool's Day.
I can't lie. I'm red-handed.
don't listen to him, Roy. JW lies. I Google him all the time. He'll tell me lies just to watch me break out my phone.
Oh, Google, they call him. Google Junior.
Google.
Ricky, I got a little conversation on horizontals.
Okay, let's talk about it.
That horizontal hive. Oh, Tom was out here and it was in May. Tom and Melissa, and we went through it. And we was going to graft off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt come out here. Last Saturday? Friday? Last Saturday.
Yep.
I went into that. I had 22 frames of bees and brood.
Packed.
22 frames packed.
Wow.
And there was not one egg, not one spotted larva,
Oh no.
one spotted comb. So I took a 5-frame nuke and the whole thing and stuck right in the middle of that. And I took them frames out of that horizontal.
Uh-huh.
And I put a frame of eggs out of another hive in with them. And it was of eggs, larva in cat brood.
Yeah.
And I let Matthew make his first OTS notch for the splits. And we're going to see what happens to that now. That's the way I haven't been back in it, so I'm not going to check it for a week or two. See if they go back to laying again. We'll see what happens. It was gone.
Yeah.
There wasn't a thing in it. 22 frames of them.
Yeah, that hive was booming. JW said we were going to graft off of that girl, and he let her hit the tree. So
That's what it was.
I'm going to send him a nasty email now.
Yeah. I honestly think, and I didn't catch her, but I think she actually swarmed,
Yeah.
And I don't know where she went to, if she did, because I was aggravated at the time and I was having all kinds of, I had 14 swarms out of my own apiaries. And I was fortunate enough to get 12 back. And I'm going to a sale next week to try to buy an 80-foot high lift, 4-wheel, self-propelled high lift. They ain't going to get away from me. If I can see them, I'm going to get them.
Hey, Matt, I hope he buys that.
Everybody should be borrowing that one.
I can't wait for that. You ain't getting away from me.
Yeah. Well, the thing about a horizontal, and I will say it's just like 8-frame management. I don't know a lot about it, but with a horizontal, especially when the flow's coming in, if you don't do some checkerboarding and make sure she's got enough space in that colony when that flow's coming in, they will jet out on you. You really?
I pulled 3 splits out of that, I think, it was.
Yeah.
I tried to keep them drawn down when Tom and Melissa was out here. They took, some brood out of it, and I made 2 or 3 more splits out of it and tried to keep it drawn down. And she was packing. I mean, she was gangbuster. She had just solid sheath, double-sided, frames of brood. I thought she was going to be
the bomb.
Rock star. Well, she rocked out on me, I guess.
Well, I don't think Tom rolled that queen. I think he snuck her in his pocket, and
he rolled it into his top pocket.
I don't think Melissa was in the hive. She's the one that had to find the queen anyway.
Mhm.
I can't find them.
What you do is be like, hey, Jeb, hey, JW, what's that over there? And you pick her off the frame and put her in your pocket and you're like, all right, we're done with this. I've seen all I need to see. Let's move on.
I should have done that when I was down at Keith's place. Man, I could have really got some good things down there.
He's going to put a padlock on all of his lids now.
Yeah.
I will say this, Rick. You talk about experience. 8-frame, and 10-frame management, in my opinion, and I've got them both, and I do both, is like two separate worlds as far as hive box management. You can get away with stuff, in my opinion, with 10 frames that you can't get away from with 8-frame. You got to watch them a little closer.
Yeah.
You got to give them a little more room.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
You got to give them a little more vertical room than you'd have to with 10-frame stuff.
Being used to
That's my thinking overall. With you're asking about brood management. I'm going to suggest you want at least a deep and a half for a brood chamber if you're going to run 8-frame stuff. And better yet, maybe 2. That's just my opinion. And
Go ahead, Matt.
my opinions aren't really very well recognized, because most time when I throw out an opinion, I get about 15 young guys Googling it.
It's
Go
hard
ahead
to
and Google
outrun.
there, Matt.
That's I just dealing with 10 frames and then going like at JW's when we worked those 8s. I felt like I was working 5-frame nuke boxes all day. I mean, there's not a huge size difference, but I mean, it's a noticeable size difference, at least for me. And I can only imagine, with 4 extra frames being missing out of a 10 comparatively. I feel like, that's the reason why I run 10s. It just gives me a little bit more flex room to be a little bit late if I need to be. Not that I ever try to be, but it's just that extra cushion, I guess.
What do
Man,
you
are
think
you
about
sticking with
that,
10s?
Keith?
I'm sorry?
Are you sticking with 10s?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Keith? Do you feel that way? Because did you start with some 10-frame, or have you always been 8-frame stuff?
Probably that one 8-frame hive I've got is probably the first hive I ever had. I probably had it for, I don't know, 12 years or something. And then went over to 10-frame. I can see what the guys are saying about you got to stay on top of it more. With the 10-frame, you've kind of got that frame on each end that don't always get used, but it's there if they need it. The 8-frame, they seem to use the whole box. So if you they don't have that little shock absorber on the ends. So in my case, running all mediums, if I was using 8 to 10, that's what's that, 2, 4, 6 frames, half a super, or a half a box that they don't have to play with. So yeah, I definitely can see that. That's take it a step further. Look at what happens in a 5-frame nuke. How quick everything happens.
Very quick.
That's something. I'm selling some 5-frame nukes to some rookies, just because they've never worked in hives before. They don't want to open up a hive and have 40,000 bees staring at them. A nuke is light. You don't have to worry about weight on a nuke. They're just easy. To me, nukes are fun, but you got to stay on top of them. I've probably got 10 nukes right now, either 2-story or 3-story. One of them might be 4-story, but man, you got to stay on top of those things between the brood and drawing out comb. And, you can go in the top box and pluck out drawn comb and put them some foundation in just every few days. And they'll just keep rolling, if you'll keep feeding it to them. But it works out good for my rookies, though, because they like to play with their hives all the time. So if you want to play with a hive, get you a nuke, and it needs to be played with fairly regular.
That's a good point.
And I went ahead and bought her a spare box. So when she calls and it'd be like it was the other day. She was down here, a lady out of Elkin, North Carolina, about 30 minutes from here. She came down and we were going to go through her nukes, and she's just learning how to work in them. She comes down here and we open up the boxes and look at them. Dang, we opened up one of the nukes that I was going to sell her, and it had 6 swarm cells in it. So we split that one little nuke into 3 nukes, and I told her I was going to sell her a different one.
Mhm.
since we had to split that one in 3 pieces, and all 3 pieces are doing great. I
Yeah.
put a couple of swarm cells in each box, and they're doing good. You saw them when you were down here, Ricky. Those 2 little
Yeah.
nukes. That
I
was
did,
2 of the 3s
Yeah.
sitting beside there. They're doing great.
My
So
only problem with stacking them up that tall, especially where I'm at, because of the way the wind blows,
yeah,
you got to watch those. They'll topple over on you pretty quick because you had
yeah.
they
I
were
try
way
to.
high. Yeah.
I try to, if you set them between a couple of 10 frame boxes, they do pretty good if they got a windbreak on each side.
Mhm.
And you can tie them down if you need to.
Mhm.
But I usually don't like to go more than 3 high. That's usually what I'll go through winter with on my nukes will be a 3 high. So, and I've never had any trouble over winter in a good nuke. I lost a couple last year, but they were little late season swarms that were tiny little hives, and I really should have combined them with another hive, but I was going to try to get them through. And that week we had where it never got above freezing, they just didn't make it. So live and learn. But no, back to your original question. Definitely the 8s. I can see if you had a lot of 8s, you got to stay on top of them more than you do the 10s, no
Mhm.
doubt.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had 10s. Actually, the only 2 10s I have are 2 10s that are in my backyard. And they each have, one of them has 2 supers, one of them has 3 supers. But I guess it was been probably 3 years ago. Was it, Melissa?
Yeah.
Probably 3 years ago that we sold off all the 10 frame stuff we had. And it was really for time management. It was what it really boiled down to. I needed everything to be the same. And I've gotten most of that pretty dialed in and pretty happy with where we're at with that. The one thing that I'm going to branch out here shortly, and I need to get this done here within about the next 2 weeks, actually. I need to get those 2-way pallets built. I just ordered 40 W clips. So my plan is to build 16 2-way pallets, and we're going to put 32 colonies over at a golf course that they've been building a bunch of really pollinator friendly roughs just off the greens and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes, but we're gonna try that out, and I'm gonna start making my own migratory lids. So doing it as a measure to save cost and maybe eventually use it for just moving stuff with a machine. So that's kind of maybe my long-term goal. We'll see how that works out. I may build these 2-way pallets and absolutely despise and hate them and steer clear of them, but there's a couple methods I got going on here with trying to use that. But I'd say, man, going from it's been a while again from the 10 frame, but going to the 8 frame stuff, I don't know, for me, that just feels like old hat. I mean, just feels comfortable for me. But like Keith said, you got a couple frames in those 10s and the outside ones that if the colony's not super motivated and really full, they may leave those 2 outside frames just kind of in limbo. They may not mess with them much. So I feel like whenever you have those 8s on a good colony and a decent nectar flow, I actually don't have to rotate any frames. They just go straight out and then start going straight up. So yep. I don't know. I guess that's maybe the beauty of it, but there can probably be some caveats in there too, I guess. Did I say something to make Matt mad?
You made Matt mad. He jumped off of here. He's like, I've had enough of that.
JW probably offended him.
The dog got him.
Yeah. The dog ate his phone.
I bet his phone went dead or whatever he was using.
I found the escape button.
I bet Sandy cut him off. She pulled the plug on him and said, yep, we're done here. You've had your allotted time.
Well,
while we got just a little break here, I'm going to make an announcement tonight that a few of you guys already know this, but we are going to sell our horizontal bee business. We was hoping this would get settled this week. It may not get settled this week. We're going to the beach next week. So maybe when we get back, we are officially going to sell the business. So you'll see the name on my thing change because I've actually sold the name of the business. So I'll still have the live chat. I will still have, a YouTube channel, but it will not have horizontal bees on there. That will be theirs. So I just wanted to make that announcement tonight to let everybody know that's what we're doing. So if everything goes through good. So, it was a big decision to make, and that we decided that worked best for us. So, but I wanted everybody to know while we had a little break here. So,
Well,
anyway.
you should be very proud of the reputation and the business that you built.
I appreciate that.
Obviously, nobody would be wanting to buy it if it wasn't a good product. So you obviously did well. Good job.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. It wasn't something I really meant to get into, to be honest with you. This was just something fun to do and take it to a Cayman's conference, and here we go, right? So down that hole. And no, Brian, I'm not going to change vertically. No, I will still stay horizontally. But hopefully I get more time to shoot videos like Keith does here. And, I'm not so involved into the horizontal part, the building hives. I can really focus on getting this bumper crop like Keith does. And that's my ultimate goal, and I really want to move into a little bit of the queen rearing aspects of it. Won't probably go away completely building stuff, but definitely can't sell the horizontals no more. That will be their stuff. So, yeah.
I think Todd was asking if whomever you sold it to, if they're going to keep the name.
Yeah, Todd, they're going to keep the name. Well, I don't know what they're going to do. It's their business, so they could sell the name and use my blueprints. I mean, whatever they want to do. So that's totally up to them. I've got a list of the things, and we're still kind of working out a few details, but hopefully this deal will get done. So, but I love my horizontals. I cleaned one of my queen castles up today to start putting these queens in, because it'll hold 12 queens in a horizontal hive, 2 frames, so that I can just pick this queen out real quick and easy and sell it and get rid of it. So that's a whole lot easier than going through a 5-frame or a 10-frame box. 2 frames is really, really easy to go through. So I got it cleaned up and ready to run for the queens that we'll have coming off. So,
well, when the timing is right, you'll have to maybe let us know more details about the people who have purchased that, if they're going to be taking that to Nabi, or I'm sure there's some details that need to be ironed out before that can be disclosed. But if that gets itself to a position where you can disclose that, so
yeah. Horizontal chill.
Hey, look at Brian's comment.
Yeah.
That's classic. I love that. Go 2 down. There it is.
You got him excited, Tom. Yes,
God.
I told you so.
This is hilarious. Hey, keep that comment up. I'm gonna take a picture of it and send it to him.
Yeah. Oh.
Got it.
Got it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and you guys that got some of my horizontals, like Paul here and Tom, I do appreciate you buying the horizontals off of us, and that's been really good, and hearing good feedback. Tom and Melissa's got a few of them, and JW. So it makes you feel good when people are using the product that you make, and not only that, it kind of you have fellow beekeepers that you didn't know before. Now, heck, I know Tom and Melissa like brother and sister to me, almost. And have good conversations with them. So it makes you meet people that you normally wouldn't meet. I'm a very kind of hesitant person to actually talk to people, and this has really broke me out of that. Having a YouTube channel and having a live chat, that's not something I would ever have done, to be honest with you. So it's been quite an experience for me. So
I'm kind of the same way. I kind of hold back and kind of reserved until. You okay? He almost choked. I thought he was having an
That's
issue.
a joke of the century.
Tom's a shy introvert. You all know.
Yes.
Hey, Ricky, you better let Fred Dunn know. He'll be depressed.
He'll be depressed.
Yeah.
He actually had somebody that sent me an email today and said, "Hey, I had some Amish horizontals and they're not fitting correctly, and I want to buy 5 off of you." And I'm like, I said, "Well, we're kind of in the middle of selling, so I'll pass your information on to the next guy. But Fred had sent somebody to me, and I'll have to send Fred a message, no doubt. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you got Tom Sossman, you got Greg Burns, you got senior moment, Ricky's buddy, Ricky's buddy, Kingman's buddy, his new associate.
Oh, Chris
Chris,
Chris, yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Sedaris. You get them three on the same, it'd just be nonstop roar. Three on the same time.
Well, Cayman's going to be here in St. Louis next week on Tuesday. You coming over, JW?
Now, you've already received my response to that. I'm meeting, remember? I've got an appointment with the president.
That's right. After you meet with the president, come on over. You're buying dinner, buddy. Steaks for everybody.
No, I'm not. I don't suppose I'll be partake. I've got to go tomorrow. I'm going to back. Guess where I'm going tomorrow? I'm going to go back, pick up another 100
I was just going to say, you're going to back up
medium frames. I just over there for Friday. Last
Funny
Friday.
how that works.
Told him I'd see him this winter.
Mm-hmm. I need to look at what we have too, and I've just been through 3 yards or 4 yards, and I was adding up everything that I had in there because people ask me how many colonies do you have, and I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know how many I have, and they're like, how do you not know? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how many I have. There's so many things that are moving around and stuff. You know, we were still selling some nukes off and still getting some stuff. You know, stuff over double screen board still. I had built some 5 framers. Actually, I used some of your JW, some of your 2 framers, and some 3 framers also that I picked up from you last year.
All those 10 framers, you know, that we transferred to H when y'all were out here.
Yeah.
During Swarmorama. I had to pull some of it back out. But these back in.
Yeah, my intention was not to do any more wax dipping this year, but I have a feeling that's going to have to end up happening. I think I underestimated a little bit of things. So I don't need any more supers, but I believe I'm going to need some more 8-frame deeps. So I may have to take a trip over there at some point, but I need to figure out exactly what that looks like. And I believe I might need some more deep frames. So
now, Keith, you guys were all at Nobby, and you still didn't get enough equipment. What's up with that? None, all 3 of you don't have enough. What's up with that, Keith?
I bought about had a beekeeper here in the county go out of business that had some really nice medium supers, and I bought like 80 of them. With drawn comb. I'm like, I'll never have to buy another frame in my whole life. This is the best thing ever. So Nobby, I didn't worry about any wood. I didn't do any early buying from Miller. When they put out their they're going to Nobby, their 15% off thing. All I did was buy that uncapping tank and a few odds and ends. Dang it, if I hadn't already been to Miller's and bought, I don't know, 20 or 30 boxes and 200 or 300 frames, and all my supers are on, and there's nothing in the garage in the shop right now. And where did it all go? But beekeepers, we never have enough stuff, no matter how much stuff we have. It's crazy. I had plenty in the winter. That was the only time I could say I had plenty of equipment.
It's like big stacks of equipment.
Yeah, during the winter,
I've got enough.
Shop looked good.
Yeah.
So Bertha had walls on both sides of her of medium supers with Paramoth, but
this Big Bertha
it's all gone.
Is that deuce and a half or that deuce?
Yeah,
what is that?
Yeah, the half track.
Oh, the half track. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you had a big transport too.
No, just the half track and the Jeep.
Okay.
So yeah. So I don't know what I'll be buying at Nobby this year. Obviously I didn't have enough wood.
My bad.
But I really don't want any more hives. I don't want 37 hives. I want like 25 hives. So I'm going to be selling some bees. But the conundrum of a beekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing, Keith. I do find this out. It's like I had let somebody borrow my little Robbie's instant vat, And they said, you left your hive tool in there. And that's been since, spring. And he's like, you left your hive tool in there. I'm like, what hive tool? Yeah, it's this really fancy hive tool. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that's my problem when I go to these things. I've got an automatic bottling tank, thing, and I've got all this equipment. It's like, well, where's it at? Where's it at? I'd forgot what I'd bought. So, look,
say this, Rick,
That's
you
back.
don't get better with age.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Hey, can't talk about Matt anymore.
Get them
They can't talk about it.
excluders on.
Sorry, I had to
Did
go
you
run
get those
and put
excluders on that?
I had to go get 140 excluders real quick and go throw them on. Sorry, I had to move quick.
Hey, Matt, look closer to the camera and turn to one cheek and then turn the other cheek real quick. Look,
Yep.
did Sandy smack you?
She
Look,
probably
you got
did.
red finger marks across your face.
Yeah, pretty much.
We seen that camera go off like that, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Sandy got a hold of him. I
It
guarantee
happens
it.
quick. I had a train I had to go dodge real quick, so I had to
Oh,
hop
boy.
off. and go get food.
It was coming. Quit sitting on the tracks for crying out loud.
I know. You'd think I'd be smarter than that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's asking what counts as a colony anyway. So
Well, that's a good question, Brian.
that is a very good question.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we all
think
sit
anything
here.
coming out of winter that survives the dandelions, coming out of winter at least. But
Yeah, that's definitely a colony. Would you consider a 5-frame colony? Just a single 5 or a
Or a
Small.
Metro would.
Small colony.
yeah?
I guess by definition, even a 3-frame's a colony, right? If it's cohesive, if you have a unified colony that has a mated queen, her own eggs and daughters in there, I guess technically.
yeah, I think to me a colony is a mini mating nuke that's with a mated queen and above. For me, a nuke is anything that's made a split that year and not in production. So a nuke can be in a single 10. It can be almost in a double. If it doesn't have a honey super on it, to me, that's still a nuke.
That comment right there that Brian just said, that right there is 100% the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you know what, Brian, if you don't mind, I may actually utilize that little bit of information in a presentation in the future. I like that. Bee math is different in the fall than it is in the spring.
I will say I did one split with a swarm, and when the queen finally come back and she was mated and I dogged her, it's probably 4 days later I went back in there and the whole colony had collapsed because there was no brood in there. That swarm had maxed itself out. Every bee was almost the same age. And she was in there, just like Mark Miller said here, she was in there with about 6 attendants. That's all she had. And they had a little bitty spot where they still had some brood. They were trying to hatch some brood out. So be careful doing that with your swarms. It will collapse on you if you're not careful.
So if you have a box of bees without a queen, is that a colony?
I say
That's a
no.
good question. You say no?
I say no because it's not cohesive.
Yep.
I think it's a potential colony.
Could be a potential colony, yes. It depends.
Cohesive, if I may ask, Mr. Google.
What do you say?
What do you mean by cohesive? Because it's not cohesive.
Well, I think in order for a colony to be cohesive, I think you have to have different age bees in there. You can't just put a queen in with a bunch of old bees. I don't think that's cohesive because old bees, I mean, I guess they probably would if they're forced, but they're not nurse bees. They're not going to feed the same way, I don't know, just my thought. I could be off base. I could be wrong, but I think in order to be cohesive, you need to have multiple age bees in there because each bee at a certain age does a specific job and it does it well and it does it with a purpose and a reason and it does it well. That's my thought.
You don't think that can change if it's necessary within the colony?
Well, I do think they can. I just don't think they're going to be good at it. I look at it like this. JW, he makes a heck of a grandpa and he makes a heck of a friend, but I don't think JW is going to be able to rear a baby. I mean, I'm just saying, you know,
I don't think J Dub's going to go back being a basketball player back in his youth
Yeah.
or weightlifting or all that stuff, right? So you move past that. You can go back into it, right? But it's going to be really hard to get back to that
Yeah.
spot.
yeah. I mean, he could do it.
Yeah, he can do it.
But
JW,
He's
anything.
not going to be as good as, 25-year-old.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to be a little facetious, don't you, Keith?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to hurt your feelings like this much.
I'm
Just
seeing.
see
I'm
what
hearing a
we
little
do.
backpedal myself. But
Melissa
Tom, I
said,
didn't know you could ride a tricycle backwards that well.
Hey, Matt, I'm just being a keyboard warrior right now. He can't reach me, so I'm not scared right now.
Oh, JW can move quick. I've seen him in that fartmobile.
Oh man, hey,
You should have seen me this afternoon. I walked by that one nuke that I was in the process of moving across the yard.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yep.
Well, I decided it needed a super on top of it. So I said, heck, I'll just stick it on there. Just like I'm dressed now.
Oh boy.
About 27 stings later.
Yeah.
I think Keith was talking about 40,000 bees coming out in your face. I think that 5-frame single deep nuke had 40,000 in it. when I popped the top off that dude, they all come out.
Mm-mm. I know. I did a no. I had some virgins hatching, and I had to get them into bees. We've had so much rain. I had no choice but yesterday evening to go down, and it was a pretty good. Let's just call it a good shower. It wasn't a full out thunderstorm, but it wasn't just sprinkling. And I popped. It's a double 5 is what my builder is right now, and it's packed. And I pulled the top of that thing off just real quick, just enough to get them in. I got a spacer on top. Him, and I just barely got those roller cages in there for I had about 100 bees on my veil, and it didn't matter if it was raining or not. They got me all the way up to the truck. Now, I didn't get a sting, but had I not had my suit on, I would have got laid.
I didn't have my suit on, so I went through the same thing. So I didn't get my face because I was going like that.
I knew I just had to get the virgins in with bees, so otherwise I never would have done it.
But they got me on the biggest part of me, my belly.
Should have got out the can of Raid and knocked those girls back a notch.
I thought about getting my shotgun, but that's too late. But anyway, that's my story about being stupid for this week.
JW, when I was thinking back on my little break when I ran to get the excluders real quick, I was thinking on that horizontal hive, we did a nuke invasion on that hive. We didn't do an OTS on that one.
No, we did. That's what I said. We put the nuke in it.
Okay.
We took the frames and added the frame eggs and stuff from another hive and did the OTS on it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I misheard you wrong. So I just. Yep, you're right then.
You did it. If it don't take, it's your fault,
Yeah, it'll be interesting on that horizontal hive, Ricky. I'm telling you, that thing was. I've never seen so much honey and pollen bound on a hive.
Yeah.
Didn't try. I mean, they were past the ability to make cells. You could tell because they just didn't care about any room. They packed any open cell had pollen of all colors, and
wow.
If it wasn't pollen, it was nectar. So.
Yeah. That's good resources for another colony, though. It really will be.
I was impressed at how much they were able to bring in, even though they had no future to make it through winter. They were sure bringing it in.
Oh well.
Hopefully,
we'll see if our corrective measure worked or not. I even brought Mark Miller into the fix on that. I even called up Mark. Get his blessing before.
Yeah, we woke him up from a nap, didn't we?
Hey, Ricky, pull up Philip's comment.
Pull up what?
Phillips.
Oh, Phillips.
I was going to say, I should have known that because I actually used this in my presentation I gave down in Springfield. I actually put in there what a definition of a colony was, and I probably should have known that specifically, but
That's interesting.
talks about division of labor.
Division of labor. Appreciate that, Phil. That's good information. So, well, guys, we're going to call it there for the night, and I appreciate everybody's phone. It's been a very good chat for me, and maybe it's just because I got a lot going on in the bee yard right now, and it's kind of exciting times, and still listen to that fella over there talk about all of his honey that's coming in all the time, But we do appreciate Keith being with us tonight, and Matt, and of course JW and Tom. It's a great crew and good information, and we appreciate you guys. And God bless, and we'll see you next time.